Namandavats, namandavats, namandavats. Welcome, everyone. So, this is the opening of my Dharma talk. I think in the Marvel world of comics, I hope this is Marvel. It might be DC. I don't know the difference. Thor, I know, has a big hammer. He's been in a bunch of movies lately. But I found out Hercules has a mace. And I guess Hercules always wins because his mace is made out of, what's it called? Adamantine. Adamantine. It's a very special hard metal, and it's in the comics a lot. And I want to talk about adamantine today. So I was at a seminar for ministers, and they said that we don't talk about Shinjin enough. And I think we talk about it a lot. But we don't really explain what it is. We use the word a lot, but we don't really explain what it is. And I've never really understood what it is. And I've been here over 20 years. So if you look at the kanji, the first one is shin, and the last one is pronounced jin. It's hard to say shin, so it's shinjin. That second character is actually one of the characters in my Dharma name. My name is Bushin. So this is Shinjin. And it's also the character for kokoro, for heart and mind. So sometimes you can figure out what Shinjin might be if you look at the kanji. So this is the radical for a person. And then the second radical in Shin is words. So a person's words, what they say, has effect and it matters. And you could say, there's two ways of looking at this. You could say that you're listening to someone with your entire heart and mind. You're focused. But it could also be that their words really have an effect on you, and you have a lot of confidence in what they say to you. It touches your heart and mind. So it's almost like it could be confidence, or perhaps it could be focus. And we have trouble translating this word into English. And I used to think that every word in Japanese had an analog in English and vice versa. But that's only true for things like pencil and paper and, a car. For feelings and emotions, a lot of times we just don't have that word in English. There is no word for this in English. So we try to find one that's close, but it's not the same. So this is kind of the evolution that I've gone through, trying to find what this word might mean in English. And like I said, it's possible there just isn't one. So it gets translated a lot as faith. Shinjin is faith. From the get-go, I don't like to use any Christian words when I describe Buddhism, because I think it causes more confusion. So I would not use this word ever. I never speak this word. And then the next one, sometimes they make it sound like it's just like Zen Satori. But I don't know what that word means either. So I've had students tell me it's not helpful if you give me a word I don't understand to help explain another word I don't understand. So that's not very helpful. And then this is what I've been playing with for 20 years. I thought maybe Shinjin is the heart and mind of the Buddha at 29 when he decides to leave home, right? He goes through the 4 gates. He meets a monk, and at 29, he decides, I have to leave and follow the way. So that might be it. And then I thought, well, maybe it's awakening. Shinjin is like awakening at 35 under the Bodhi tree. And then I thought, well, maybe it's his complete and final nirvana under the twin solid trees at 80 years old. So you could tell I'm all over the map here, right? I'm all over the place. I'm struggling. I need help. So a lot of times I like to use quotes from scholars who I agree with, but if you get mad at me, I can say, well, I didn't say it. Roger Corliss said it. So I picked this quote, but I didn't say it. But in a footnote in one of his essays, he said that faith is a word with a rich history in Western religion and philosophy, but none of its many uses has very much to do with Shinjin as used by Shinran and his successors. So I love that quote. So a lot of times in Buddhism, we relate Shinjin to having a diamond-like mind. And I was thinking about it. You could think of a diamond, this is a metaphor, but you could think of it as being very bright and radiating light. So maybe radiating wisdom and insight. Diamonds are also worth a lot of money because they're rare, they're very valuable. And the last one I never think about is that they're hard. You can't scratch them, right? They can cut glass. So they often use this idea of having a diamond-like mind in our tradition, but that metaphor was lost on me. And we often have pictures of the Buddha radiating light, and light is a symbol for wisdom, so I kind of assumed that the diamond was also a symbol for wisdom. And in Buddhism, we talk a lot about states of mind, and there's a famous vow in our tradition called the 18th vow, and they mentioned the mind that is sincere, joyful, and it aspires. And this is called the three minds. So I'm like, well, which one's Shinjin? Now there's three more minds. So in the larger sutra, there's the sincere mind, the joyful mind, and the mind that aspires. And then Shinran and Vasubandhu kind of coalesced all three into a single mind, a mind that is single. And usually in the United States, when we say you're single-minded, it means you're really focused. So that might be a good hint of what Shinjin might be. And the other thing I noticed the other day when we were reading the Three Treasures at OCBC, there's a phrase in here that almost sounds like being really locked in. It says, I rely on the Buddha. May I, along with all sentient beings, awaken to the great path with my entire being and discover the highest aspiration was just to become a Buddha. So, if you're all in with your entire being, your mind is single and it's focused. And then Shinran wrote a poem and said this, Shinjin is the mind that is single. The mind that is single is the diamond-like mind. The diamond-like mind is the mind aspiring for enlightenment. This mind is itself other power. So this is that word diamond showing up again. But I thought it meant that you had wisdom. So translations are really important. You can say diamond or you can say adamantine. And that opened up the door for me about 3 months ago to finally understand, I think, what Shinjin means. So Shinran's creative quotation of Shandao's use of the term adamantine mind. The commentary on the Contemplation Sutra states, although the ordained and lay, gathered together now, each have given rise to the unsurpassed mind, it is extremely difficult to disdain birth and death and hard to enjoy the Buddha Dharma. Give rise to the adamantine aspiration, unconventionally sever and overcome the four streams, truly taking on the adamantine mind and having corresponded in one thought moment. As a result, one will attain nirvana. So this adamantine is the right word for me, not diamond-like. So this is where we get Hercules' golden adamantine mace. It's unbreakable. Adamantine, the adamantine alloy used in Captain America's shield, is the strongest human-made material on Earth. Its greatest strength is its nearly immutable nature and resistance to being damaged or changed. The process used to create adamantium requires the material to be brought together, shaped, and within a fixed amount of time before setting. To be fair to the Olympians, I will also include adamantine, the material Hercules' mace is made from, to be another mystical metal capable of being enchanted and having its durability enhanced through mystical scientific forging by, I don't know who this is, the smith of the Olympian gods. And then I also found it in this word in Dungeons and Dragons. Adamantine is a rare metal appearing in Dungeons and Dragons. It is famed for its hardness and often used to produce weapons and armor. Adamantine in various pure, alloyed, or raw forms have historically been referred to by different names, including adamantite, adamant, and adamantium. So the reason why they use diamond-like mind is because it's indestructible and it never varies. So once you have a Shinjin moment, You're focused and all in on the Buddhist path, and it can never be changed. So adamantine is something that is unbreakable, a legendary metal that was impenetrable, something that is unbreakable. So can a person be adamantine? When someone is adamant, she won't budge or yield. Anything adamantine is pretty much unbreakable or invulnerable. Adamantine substances also tend to be bright and shiny, like diamonds. When used figuratively, adamantine can describe something unbreakable, like the adamantine will of a marathon runner or a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist who's all in with their heart and mind on the Buddhist path. So, again, I'd like to read this again. Understanding the metaphor for diamond is for its unbreakability. It's immutable. So Shinran says, Shinjin is the mind that is single. The mind that is single is the diamond-like mind. The diamond-like mind is the mind aspiring for enlightenment. This mind is itself other power. So there's a Buddhist scholar, I think in Australia, named George Gattenby, and he wrote this short commentary on this Koso Wasan number 19 by Shinran. And so this is how he explains adamantine within our tradition, not in comic books. We all experience lightning and thunderstorms. When a thunderclap and a flash of lightning occur simultaneously, we are almost bowled over by the sound and at the same time see our surroundings with absolute clarity. After that, darkness floods back in, but we are now aware of our surroundings as never before. In the spiritual life of our seeing leaves us permanently transformed. Our significance, destiny, view of life, and self-image change forever. The thunderbolt remains our defining moment. Soon the sound of the thunderclap and the flash of light leave themselves, and they fade from memory, but their effect upon us never leaves us. So the adamantine Shinjin that Shinran speaks of describes, at least as I see it, his sense of settled destiny. So, you're settled and your destiny is assured. You're on the right path, you're headed in the right direction, and it's just a matter of time. It's like fait accompli. It hasn't happened yet, but it's guaranteed to happen. And so I picked a different diamond. So it's very interesting that I just missed the metaphor, right? It's not light, it's not wisdom, it's not awakening, it's not insight. It's that your will has been forged and that you're all in with your heart and mind, and you are now adamant about being a Buddhist. And there's really nothing that can change that. It's immutable, it's indestructible, and you enter what they call in Buddhism a state of non-retrogression. And so these metaphors are very powerful, but I think we really have to be careful. I think they just need to be explained. Left to my own devices, I kind of created my own interpretations. Reverend Harada said, of course it means unbreakable. I'm like, why didn't somebody tell me that 20 years ago? So I just find it very interesting, these cultural differences and the use of language really impact how the teachings are appreciated by people. And I've heard it said that ministers, we often talk about things assuming that the audience knows what we mean. And so I think it's a good idea maybe for ministers to take a step back and kind of explain things to people assuming that they don't know what we mean. We have an online school called everydaybuddhist.org, and I got a comment from somebody who said that we finally explained the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path to people who don't know what it means already, right? He said that the ministers always talk about it as if we're experts on the subject, and he found it so refreshing to get a very specific nut and bolts deconstruction of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And so I try to remember that as a minister, and how many things I've gotten confused in 25 years. So anyway, that was a big breakthrough. And it also means that I understand Marvel Comics now. I understand those comic book movies. My daughter and her partner watch these all the time. And there's another one out now, right? There's another huge one out right now with Wanda and I think Thor and Doctor Who. Or anyway, there's a big one out right now. And Thor has his adamantine hammer. So if we could close with Gasho. Namo Amidabuts. Namo Amidabuts. Namo Amidabuts. Namo Amidabuts.